Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head up towards Stockholm, the capital of Sweden of course, and we're having a taste of another beer from a brewery that you've seen me review a couple of things from before, and we're going to have a look at sour beer for this one. So for this review we are going to head to Stockholm Brewing Company and we're having a taste of the Saison de Cave, which comes in at 7% ABV. So apparently this beer is a blend of a couple of different Saisons that they've produced. They're different ages between 1 and 3 years, and then they age the blends together in wine barrels, so it should be really interesting. If memory serves me correctly, this beer was released on the 6th of September 2019 through one of the small partiers in Systembolaget here in Sweden. It's definitely a small partier beer, this one, but it's supposed to be pretty nice. I've had a good experience with the beers from this brewery before. I think it was a Brut IPA was the last one I reviewed back in March or so, and before that I'm sure I had like a raspberry sour or a raspberry Berliner Weiss, something along those lines. But a really interesting brewery, this one, and hopefully this is another good beer from them. A big thank you to my friend Matthias for sharing this one with me, so I'm going to share this one with him after I finish the review. But yeah, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Stockholm Brewing before. No doubt there will be some more at some point in the near future. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's being added to whenever I get the opportunity, and as always please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, on to my brewery notes then. So Stockholm Brewing, as the name suggests, are based in Stockholm, Sweden's capital city, and they were founded back in 2012 by Niklas Jakobsson, Thomas Hallgren and Niklas Lenkel. But they were joined in 2016 by Mimi Pettersson, who joined the company to increase their sales. She has quite a strong background in the restaurant industry, and then later in 2018 they were also joined by Emil Törström, who runs the restaurant. But they were also apparently the first craft brewery in Sweden to open up a tasting bar at their brewery, so they were doing a lot of things to, kind of get the Swedish government to change the laws and stuff like this, and this of course has paved the way for a number of other breweries to do the same. But by 2016 they were brewing around 150,000 litres of beer, and the brewery were originally based in Söder in Stockholm, but more recently in 2018 they moved to a new place in an old brick house at Frihamnen, which is out to the east of the city, and they also have their restaurant there as well. But they also have their own farm outside of Stockholm, which is called the Karshamra Trädgård, and a chunk of the things that they use in the restaurant are actually from there too. And Agnes and Maurits are the farmers out there, but they are also involved in the running of the restaurant too. The current head brewer is Michel Alin Vigart, and he's assisted by Albin and Max, and these guys are also affiliated with the company Wine Trade, which is run by Ollie Bartlett, who is also involved in the brewery as well. So yeah, there's a lot of different things going on with this company, restaurants, farming, brewing beer. They're quite an all-round company actually, and for a long time it was quite difficult to get their beers outside of Stockholm from what I remember. I only saw them appearing for availability nationwide within the last sort of 18 months or something like that, so for quite a while you had to actually be in the Stockholm area to get a hold of their beers. But since they've actually become a bit more widely available, I've been able to enjoy some of them, and like I say, I've reviewed a sour raspberry beer. I don't know if that was a raspberry wheat or exactly what it was, or a Berliner Weiss, which was really nice, but I had a Brut IPA from them as well, and now we've got this one which is supposed to be really quite good as well. So if you're interested in sour beers, Stockholm Brewing Company are definitely a brewery you want to have a look at, and I've had positive experiences with them in the past. But yeah, that's all you really need to know about Stockholm Brewing Company for the moment. If you want to learn more, of course, you can check out the brewery website in the description below. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and if you're interested in the different beers that they do, I'd recommend you check out the Rate Beer and Untappd pages. So yeah, let's get on to the actual tasting of this beer itself then. So as I mentioned at the start of the video, this particular beer is a blend of a few different Saisons that they've brewed. Saison, of course, is one of the Belgian beers. If I remember rightly, this was the one that farmers used to drink. There was one that the miners used to drink. So yeah, a couple of different beer styles from Belgium that were for different tradespeople, if you like. But this one uses their house yeast culture, and it's aged in wine barrels as well. So I think this one should be really quite interesting. In fact, I don't get to review all that many Saisons for you on the channel these days. It's mainly about IPAs and stuff like this. But as you can see, quite a nice bit of artwork on the label here, actually. Very nice, very kind of tasteful. This beer is part of their cellar series, of course, their barrel aging series. You can see it's got a nice different bottle cap on it, which I'll be adding to my collection as well. And it is also certified as organic by the European Union. So yeah, kind of cool in that way as well. But 750 millilitres, this one, 75 centilitres. Without further ado, let's get it out and we will get on with the tasting it. I'm curious just to see how this beer turns out, in fact. Oh, is it off? Yep, there we go. So yeah, let's get this guy out and into the glass then. Don't think we're going to get too much of a head on this one, but we'll just need to see. That should do for the moment. So yeah, as you can see, and as you would kind of expect from a Saison, I'm not sure if there is too much in the way of sediment in this one. Not really, actually. It's more just kind of hazy rather than having a bit of sediment. But as you can see with this beer, and as you would expect from a Saison, it's poured a lovely bright yellow colour, this one, kind of golden yellow actually, but one or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, a few little ones just heading up towards the bottom of that head there. But you know, overall it is really kind of pretty nice. Nothing surprising about this beer in terms of its appearance. The head, I would say, is fading away to be a very thin foamy layer, but I would say that it's a perfect white head on this one. But to be honest with you, nothing overly surprising about this beer in terms of its appearance when you consider it is a Saison. If I hold it up to the light, it is quite hazy, this one. You know, it's not as hazy as New England IPAs and things like that, but definitely it's got a nice little bit of that haze to it. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, and a few little ones heading up towards the bottom of that head there. But you know, overall it looks pretty much as you would expect, to be quite honest with you. So let's have a little look at the aroma and just see how we get on with this beer. Oh yeah, straight away with this one you're going to get those nice kind of vinous oaky qualities out of it. I'm pretty sure this one will have been aged in white wine barrels. It wouldn't really make sense to age it in red wine barrels right enough, but you can really smell that nice green grapey vinous quality out of this one. White grapey, green grapey, however you want to describe it. It really has a sort of white wine undertone to it, this beer. Some nice oaky notes in there. You can pick out a little bit of the breadiness and things like that. And it's one of the interesting things. I've had a good few barrel-aged imperial stouts and things recently. Scotch whisky barrel-aged, Irish barrel-aged, bourbon barrels and things like that. And I've always found that they tend to make the mouth feel a little bit thinner, to be honest with you. And I don't know if it would do the same with a Saison, so that's one of the things I'll comment on when we actually taste this beer. But like I say, the aroma, nice and big and oaky and woody, little touch of vanilla in there. Some green, white, grapey notes to the beer. Definitely a good little bit of a floral and floral and grassy kind of aromaticity to this beer. You've got those nice little hoppy notes coming out of the beer, which is what you'd expect from a Saison. Some apple and peary notes from the fruity side of things. Like I say, white grapes too. No, it's got a little bit of a kind of lemon tartness to it also on the fruity side of things. So lemon tartness, a little bit of a kind of white, green, grapey sort of thing, which is what you'd expect. And it's also got a little bit of a kind of appley, peary ester to it as well. So yeah, bit of grassy and floral character from the hops that have obviously been put in this one, but in fairness, if it's aged, most of the hops will have kind of dropped out of it a little bit, but you do still get a little bit of that nice kind of floral and grassy freshness to the beer. A little bit of a white bready quality in there, but mainly it's kind of taken over by the vinous qualities and the sort of fruitiness that the beer has. But to me it comes across really nicely. It's quite a sharp, sour Saison, this one, to be honest with you, rather than a sort of a sort of typical Saison, if that makes sense. From what I remember, Saisons, they do tend to be a little bit sour sometimes, but they are more of a sort of bready, doughy kind of beer from what I remember. But this one, it does smell a little bit more like a kind of sour take on the Saison beer, which isn't surprising if you know this brewery, but it should be quite an interesting beer, this one. So as I always say, take a bit of time and just enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck into it. This one to me does smell pretty nice actually, and it's been a long time since I've had a go at a Saison actually, so very curious to see how it turns out. So let's have a taste of this one then and see how we go. And this one is the Saison de Cave, a blend of a couple of different Saisons aged between 1 to 3 years and then aged in wine barrels, coming in at 7% ABV. From Stockholm Brewing Company in Stockholm here in Sweden. Let's get stuck into this one. Slange, skål. That's really nice actually. Definitely not as sharp and sour as I was thinking it was going to be. I thought this one was going to have a real kind of tartness to it, but it's actually aged just to a really quite nice level, to be honest with you. I really like how this, how everything in this one goes together. So thumbs up to Stockholm Brewing Company for this. Again, they've pulled off another really quite nice beer here. So yeah, where do we start with the flavour of this one actually? It's one of these beers where it is actually quite complex. This is one of these ones where it's all about how the different kind of subtleties come out of the beer. And it's one that makes you just kind of pause and think, but it gets a thumbs up from me. This, make no mistake about this one, this is a really quite nice beer, this. Where to go with this? You can feel straight away with this beer, you get a little bit of that pale malty quality, that just blankets the middle of your tongue. On top of that you start to get a little bit of a thicker, doughy, kind of bready, yeasty thing, and you start to get a bit of the yeasty qualities coming out later on in the aftertaste. You can taste that there's a little bit of sweetness to this one, to be honest with you, and I really like how that kind of goes together. There's a bit of an almost biscuity quality in the middle of the palate as well, and if you go towards the front corners of your palate, you're also going to get just a little bit more of that woodiness coming out of the beer as well. Yeah, and I think it's fair to say with this one that you've got a nice woody, kind of oaky quality in there. That just, you know, obviously you're going to get that when it's barrel aged right enough, but it's almost like the kind of nice light malty base that this beer has. The woody qualities are just really infused into that. It's got a very sort of infused flavour, this beer, and I think, you know, as I said, with the imperial stouts and stuff like that I've had recently that have been barrel aged, I really think that barrel aging just takes the mouthfeel down a little bit. It thins it out, which is kind of interesting. Because to me, a Saison would always be quite a thick, doughy, bready kind of beer, but this one is remarkably clean and light. And I mean, obviously we'll talk about the mouthfeel a bit later on, but it could well be down, you know, there's a very good quality of water in Sweden. I've said this about Scandinavian beers before. The quality of water that you get up here is very good, and that gives the beer this kind of feeling of cleanliness, to be honest with you. They feel nice, light and clean, but at the same time I don't think it is just that. I think it is the fact that barrel aging does take the mouthfeel of the beer down a little bit. But yeah, I do like this one. This could be the best beer that I've had from Stockholm Brewing Company so far actually, so yeah, thumbs up, as I say, thumbs up to them for that. But the woody flavours, you can really feel that nice woodiness just kind of forming the base of the beer, and it takes your palate a bit of time to adjust to this one, to be honest with you, and then you start to get the nice woody, oaky kind of qualities coming out of this one. If you go to the centre of your palate, then come forward, you've got a nice little bit of vanilla quality to this beer as well, but it's definitely a nice smooth oaky and vanilla quality that comes out of this one. There's almost a teeny little bit of a spicy character to the wood in this one as well, which is nice. But I really like how everything goes together in this beer. It's very nicely done, this one. So just enjoy this one. This definitely takes a bit of time for the flavours to kind of develop and push their way out of the beer. In the back corners of the palate there is a teensy little bit of earthiness there. And I don't know if they'll be using Belgian hops in this one, or if they'll just use you know, German noble hops or something. But it could even be there might even be a little bit of Centennial in here or something like that when I think about it, just the way that some of these flavours are coming out. I wouldn't be surprised if there's Centennial in this beer, to be quite honest. But in the back corners of the palate, like I say, a little bit of earthiness. That smooths out as you come further forward along the sides of the tongue. It becomes almost a little touch herbal there. And that could suggest to me that there's a little bit of Belgian hop in here, because the Belgian hops, they're almost like a middleman between the German hops and that nice noble quality and the more herbal, earthy kind of thing that you normally get from English hops. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a bit of Belgian hop in here. But as you reach the front corners of the palate, you'll get a nice kind of, not quite spicy, but there is a bit of bite from the floral aromaticity. Then around the front curve of the palate, it's just a little bit lighter and grassy. But the beer, it does have a little touch of tartness to it. Like I say, the surprising thing for me with this one, compared with the aroma, was that it didn't have much of a kind of tart bite to it when you take it in. And you will get a little bit of that bite behind the front of the tongue, but really, it's a lot less than you would expect. So on the fruity side of the beer then, it's definitely got that nice, as I say, you always get that oily bubble behind the front curve of the tongue, which is where you get the nice kind of juicy fruity esters pushing their way out of the beer. And for me, it's almost like the kind of green grapey, white grapey qualities, they're forming the base of the beer. There is a bit, if you move towards the front of the tongue, there is a little bit of a kind of lemony type quality to this one, which is what was making me think there might be a bit of Centennial in this beer. But the further you go into the aftertaste, the green grapey kind of qualities take over. There is a little bit of a kind of sort of a little bit of a kind of peary, appley ester coming out of this one, I think, too. But it's mainly a kind of lemony flavour that's lingering into the aftertaste with this one. The woody notes start to come out more. The green and white grapes are lingering there. There's a little bit of the oaky vanilla, and then you've got some of the nice kind of grassy and floral parts from the hops too. So overall, this one, it definitely has the kind of flavours you'd expect from a Saison, but it's not quite as bready and thick as you might expect from a regular one. But it is barrel aged, and to be honest, when you have a barrel aged beer, you should really expect the mouthfeel and things like that to just lighten up a little bit and become that little bit cleaner and drier and things like that. But overall, I really, in terms of its flavour, a really interesting beer, this one. And like I said, I think this might be the best beer that I've had from Stockholm Brewing Company so far. In terms of the mouthfeel, I would say this one is quite a light-bodied beer. Carbonation is pretty smooth on this one, to be honest with you. The mouthfeel is quite wet and quite clean. There is a little tiny bit of a sour tartness to this one in the start of the flavour. The malt base is very smooth. There's a little touch of sweetness in there, like I said, a bit of biscuit in the middle of your palate. But otherwise it's quite smooth and quite light. Good little bit of hoppy bitterness. I think you'd get maybe 20-25 IBUs out of this beer at most. And you've also got some nice juicy fruity qualities in there, and that's where some of the tartness that you get in this beer comes from. As I say, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a bit of Centennial in here along with one of the Belgian hops. But I mean, overall, it's a really interesting beer, this one. Probably the best one I've had from Stockholm Brewing Company so far, and I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink it again. But a big thank you to Matthias for letting me have a taste of this one that he bought, and I'll now go and share the rest of it with him. So yeah, really nice to be able to review this one for you, so let's just leave it at that. This one is the Saison de Cave, a barrel-aged, white wine barrel-aged, I suspect, Saison from Stockholm Brewing Company in Stockholm here in Sweden. A really nice beer, probably the best one I've had from them so far. One of the small partiers on the 6th of September 2019. So yeah, let's just leave it at that. Once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Stockholm Brewing Company as well. Do give me some other Saison recommendations too, because this is a style that I do quite enjoy, but I just don't get to review all that many of them. So let me know those in the comments section below. Check out my social media, and I will catch you guys very, very soon. This one is the Saison de Cave. It's 7% ABV from Stockholm Brewing Company here in Sweden. Until the next time, Slanja just now, and I'll catch you soon. Make sure you check out this beer because it is pretty damn good. Slanja, skål, cheers.